Are you ignoring the universe? How to recognize cosmic signs. Most people walk through life dismissing the very messages that could change everything. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The universe never stops talking, but the majority of souls are too distracted to listen. What if that random song on the radio, that unexpected encounter, or that gut feeling you keep brushing aside aren't coincidences at all, but coordinates being sent directly to your soul? The science of synchronicity and the ancient art of spiritual vision agree on one thing. Cosmic signs are real. They're consistent, and they're being sent specifically to those who are ready for awakening. Those who learn to decode these signals don't just find inner peace. They unlock a level of personal development that feels almost unfair to those still living on autopilot. The question isn't whether the universe is sending signs. The real question is whether someone is finally ready to stop ignoring them. The universe's secret language. There's a quiet rebellion happening in the lives of people who are waking up, and it begins with a single radical idea. Reality is not random. The universe operates through a sophisticated system of energy and communication, weaving messages into the fabric of everyday experience through what psychologist Carl Jung famously called synchronicity, an apparently meaningful coincidence in time of two or more similar or identical events. For most people on the path of spiritual growth, this concept sounds beautiful in theory, but elusive in practice, simply because they've been trained to trust only what can be measured, touched, or explained by logic. But the truth is, every single soul has received a cosmic sign at some point. A feeling in the chest before something happened, a name appearing out of nowhere right when it was needed, a door slamming shut that forced a detour toward something far greater. Understanding that the universe is a living, communicating intelligence, not a cold, indifferent machine, is the very first step toward spiritual awakening. The challenge, though, is that this language isn't taught in schools or passed down at the dinner table. Most people grow up learning to override their inner knowing, trading consciousness for conformity and spiritual vision for social approval. Think about someone who keeps feeling drawn to a new city, a new career, or a new way of living, but keeps dismissing it as just a fantasy. That persistent pull isn't fantasy. It's the higher self communicating through desire, which is one of the most powerful channels the universe uses to deliver its message. When a person finally acknowledges this inner frequency, something shifts. Life stops feeling like a series of random events and starts feeling like a guided journey with a purpose. It's worth noting that cosmic signs don't always arrive wrapped in mysticism or dramatic flashes of light. More often than not, they show up in the ordinary. A line in a book that hits too close to home, a stranger's offhand comment that answers a question never spoken aloud, or a sudden, inexplicable wave of calm in the middle of chaos. The universe isn't theatrical, it's precise. Spiritual coach Lumi Palinku puts it plainly. The forces above send synchronicities as a means to dial down the hectic world so that a person can start listening to their own voice within, their intuition. And once someone starts noticing these threads, it becomes impossible to look away, because the next layer of signs is even more specific, even more undeniable, and far more transformative. Synchronicity, more than coincidence. The moment someone begins to take synchronicity seriously is the moment their entire experience of reality begins to shift. Synchronicities are defined by spiritual writer Tisha Toller as the signposts of the soul, the magical way the universe communicates as we navigate our human experience. They are not random glitches in the matrix. They are deliberate, loving nudges from a consciousness far greater than the individual mind. A person going through a crossroads might suddenly come across a podcast episode, a mentor, and a news article, all on the same day, all pointing to the same answer they were afraid to act on. That's not luck. That's the universe stacking the deck in their favor, waiting for them to notice. What makes synchronicity such a powerful force in personal development is that it rewards attention. The more a person learns to notice these patterns, not obsess over them, but notice them, the more they seem to multiply, as if the universe is encouraged by the fact that its signals are finally being received. A practical exercise. For the next 7 days, keep a small notebook nearby and write down every moment that feels too perfect to be a coincidence. The repeated numbers, the unexpected mentions of a person's name, the dreams that bleed into waking life. By the end of the week, the pattern will be undeniable, and something inside will have already begun to transform. This is what self-knowledge looks like in its most raw and honest form, not grand spiritual ceremonies, but quiet, daily attentiveness. There's also something else worth addressing: the fear of appearing crazy for believing in signs. Society hasn't exactly built a warm welcome for people who meditate, track synchronicities, and believe the universe is speaking to them personally. But here's what's quietly fascinating. Some of the most successful minds in history, from Albert Einstein to Napoleon Hill himself, openly acknowledged that their greatest insights arrived not from effort alone, but from an invisible source that seemed to respond to intention and energy. The transformation that follows embracing synchronicity isn't spiritual fluff. It's a recalibration of how a person processes reality, makes decisions, and aligns with their true self. And that recalibration is just the beginning, because embedded within synchronicities are specific recurring patterns that have been decoded by millions and carry unmistakable meaning, angel numbers and repeating patterns. Few cosmic signs are as universally reported and universally dismissed as repeating numbers. Known in spiritual circles as angel numbers, sequences like 111, 222, 333, and 444 appear on clocks, license plates, receipts, and phone screens with a frequency that cannot be explained away as pure chance once a person begins paying attention. According to spiritual tradition, each sequence carries a specific message. 111 signals new beginnings and open doors. 222 points to balance and alignment in relationships. 333 is encouragement from spiritual guides that one is on the right path. These aren't just pretty numbers. They're a precise form of energetic communication, a language the universe uses when words and events aren't breaking through the noise of daily life. The soul that learns to decode these numbers gains access to a kind of ongoing dialogue with something greater than itself, a conversation that feels almost shockingly personal. What's particularly striking about angel numbers is the context in which they appear. They almost never show up during mindless scrolling or when someone is fully distracted. They tend to appear precisely when a person is in the middle of a decision, a doubt, or a question that's been sitting heavily in their chest. A person wrestling with whether to leave a job they hate might glance at the clock and see 111, then later notice the same number on a receipt, then again on a billboard, all within hours of each other. That's the energetic portal opening, the universe saying, yes, this is the direction, keep moving. The key isn't to become obsessed with chasing numbers, but to develop the kind of calm awareness that allows them to be received as the gentle, loving confirmations they are. Beyond numbers, the universe also communicates through patterns of repetition in words, songs, animals, and even smells. Someone going through a period of deep healing might keep encountering butterflies, a symbol of transformation in nearly every spiritual tradition on Earth, in paintings, conversations, and random scrolling. Or they might hear the same song 3 times in one day, each time at a moment tied to the same emotion or question. These are not accidents. They are the universe being persistent, the way a good mentor keeps returning to the same lesson until the student finally gets it. And just as repeating numbers carry a specific message, so does the body itself. Because the next layer of cosmic signs isn't external at all. It lives inside the very flesh and nervous system of the awakening soul. The body as a cosmic receiver. One of the most overlooked and most misunderstood signs from the universe is what happens inside the body during a period of spiritual awakening. Physical sensations, emotional waves, heightened sensitivity, and even unexplained fatigue are among the most common physical signs reported by people going through a deep energetic shift. Author and spiritual teacher Kate Swedberg describes it beautifully. There are moments on the path of inner growth when the body begins to respond in ways that feel intense, unfamiliar, and sometimes overwhelming. Instead of running to suppress these symptoms, a person in the midst of awakening is being invited to ask a radical question. What if my body is integrating something new? This shift in perspective, from something is wrong with me to something is opening in me, is itself one of the most powerful acts of healing available to a human being. Energetic hypersensitivity is a term used to describe the heightened state of perception that accompanies genuine spiritual growth. And it's far more common than most people realize. The person who suddenly can't stand crowds, who feels drained in certain environments, who cries at commercials or feels overwhelming compassion for strangers, that person isn't too sensitive. That person's soul is expanding, their consciousness is widening, and their inner antenna has been upgraded to receive frequencies it couldn't detect before. Think of it like upgrading from a basic radio to a satellite receiver. Suddenly there's signal everywhere, and the sheer volume of it can feel like too much, until one learns how to tune it. Managing this sensitivity through grounding practices, walking barefoot on grass, breathwork, spending time in silence, is not a luxury. It's a survival skill for the awakening soul. The body also communicates urgency through what many call a calling, an undeniable pull towards something that logic can't fully explain. It might show up as a restlessness that makes sleep difficult, a chronic dissatisfaction with a life that looks fine on paper, or a recurring dream that keeps delivering the same scene with increasing clarity. The pink full moon, according to many spiritual traditions, is one such trigger, a period when hidden emotions and life patterns come into clearer view, when the body and soul begin surfacing what has been suppressed beneath the ordinary routine. These physical and emotional signals are the universe knocking from the inside, bypassing the rational mind to speak directly to the soul. But before someone can fully act on these signs, they must first confront a phenomenon that quietly blocks millions of awakening people from receiving them clearly, and it's something almost no one talks about openly.